Through the spirit of St. Augustine, with this first Sunday of Advent, we start a new liturgical year B. Advent is a term that comes from a Latin word adventus, meaning to come. Liturgically, Advent is a period that lasts 4 weeks before Christmas, in which Christians commemorate Jesus' first coming 2,000 years ago, and secondly, to wait and to prepare for his second coming on the last day of judgment. But then, how can we prepare for his second coming while Christ has already come? Preparation is needed because of the sinful nature of a human person. Therefore, without fear of contradiction, we need Christ to come in our hearts and in our minds. During this period of Advent, we are reminded to prepare ourselves physically and spiritually in order to celebrate Christmas with better disposed hearts. The Gospel reading today presents to us a concise description of a man who traveled, but first he entrusted some work to his servants. At the end of it all, he tells them to keep watch because he would come back any time. The man in this brief story represents Christ, and the servants represents us. More interestingly, we can affirm that the period between the departure of this man and his return in future makes the servants to wait while keeping watch. In our own time and circumstances, this waiting period while keeping watch is the Advent. Still, from the readings of this Sunday, above all the Gospel, we can single out 2 important messages as far as Advent is concerned. These are to keep watch and to accomplish our tasks as we wait for his second coming. To keep watch. Christ says, "What I say to you, I say to all, watch." What makes us to keep watch is that his coming is not specified. The word watch is repeated several times in the Gospel of today. This significantly means that Christ invites us all to keep watch each minute of our life. In this regard, however, there are 4 moments during Jesus' lifetime that the disciples did not keep watch, and this corresponds to the 4 moments mentioned in this passage. These 4 moments are the evening during the Last Supper. Jesus predicts the one who will betray him, but the disciples asked one another who could be. Therefore, the disciples did not keep watch. Mark chapter 14, verses 19. At midnight in the Garden of Gethsemane, there Jesus finds some of his disciples asleep. In fact, he told them to keep watch. Mark chapter 14, verses 34. At the cockcrow. This refers to the denial of Peter that took place before the cock crowed twice. Peter did not keep watch to remember what Jesus had said to him earlier on. Lastly, early morning. The early morning when the disciples did not keep watch and remember what Jesus told them about his resurrection. In fact, the message to women was that Christ would meet them in Galilee. Mark chapter 14, verses 28. These are the 4 key moments which shows that some disciples did not keep watch. The last thing that we can learn from this gospel of today is to carry out our responsibilities as we wait for his second coming. From the passage of the gospel today, before his departure, the man entrusted to each of his servants some tasks as they keep watch and wait for his return. The absence of the man does not create any emptiness or vacuum in the lives of the servants. Nevertheless, their waiting is filled with some tasks and responsibilities to carry out. In the same way, God has given us some tasks to accomplish. Therefore, we are invited to wait and keep watch while working. Lastly but not least, on the same note, we are invited to cultivate the virtue of patience in us as we keep watch. Generally, Advent is not simply remembering the past coming of Christ, but a period that makes us to be prepared spiritually for his second coming. Again, Advent reminds us to wait and to prepare for the actual, at the same time, real coming of the Savior in us. Christ continues to come to us through the grace that we receive at the celebration of the Eucharist, as well as through the sacraments in the Church. It is this immediate coming of Christ that we are called to expect and to search during this season of Advent. We can ask ourselves these questions. Is Christ present in my heart, in my thoughts, in my life? If not, then let us profit from this Advent to reflect, to pray, to expect, to search, and to be watchful for his second coming. The spirit of Advent is to learn how to live together. Let us prepare ourselves physically by singing Christmas carols and spiritually for his second coming in our lives today. Christ tells us today, "What I say to you, I say to all, watch." Have a blessed Sunday.
Kazi ya Mungu tuitende kwa ukamilifu.